This video is brought to you in collaboration with WoWhead.com. Hello everyone! Locus-Walker and Ethereals come from Karesh, a planet somewhere in the great dark beyond, the term we use to describe Warcraft space. Not a whole lot is known about the world that they come from. It's a planet with at least 2 suns in the sky, and its people, they were seemingly pretty advanced in their technology. The old stories, and we're talking about the Burning Crusade period here. It said that the Ethereals are astral travelers who dwell within the twisting nether. They are known to be collectors and traders of arcane items and artifacts. Now drawn to Outlands, many Ethereals are seeking to track down its treasures and steal them back into the twisting nether. They are liars and scoundrels who will stop at nothing to pursue their mysterious aims. The Ethereals have no care at all for the Burning Crusade. They would even play both sides of the conflict against each other, if doing so would serve to further their own goals. But throughout the expansion, we get to know the Ethereals a little bit better. We make some enemies, we make some friends. They did not always look like the mummified creatures that we see them as today. Their forms are a result of their war with a Void Lord called Dimensius the All-Devouring. In pursuit of knowledge and arcane technologies, they had doomed themselves in their home. The Kareshi had torn open a rift into the void and drawn the wrath of Dimensius. It had bathed the world in volatile energies that slowly tore it apart, and the Kareshi had desperately tried to shield themselves from harm. Their efforts had only partially worked. The magic had blocked Dimensius' shadowy power, but the raw arcane energy had shattered their physical bodies. All that remained were their souls, bristling with magic. From that day forward, these incorporeal creatures called themselves Ethereals. But is that the whole story? Well, probably not, as they are adding more. The world of Karesh rang out with a song of warning, similar to what Azeroth is doing right now, and Xal'atath the Harbinger is known to someone like the Locus-Walker, even though back then she apparently went by a different name. We also know that Xal'atath has been busy manipulating some events throughout Azeroth's history. Could it be that she did a similar thing on Karesh, manipulating the Kareshis until they brought in Dimensius? All things to be revealed, but the aftermath is certain. The Kareshi, now transformed into the Ethereals, splintered into different factions. Some had become nomads and traders, roaming the cosmos in search of sources of magic and powerful artifacts. Some had sworn to destroy Dimensius and the creatures of the void to avenge the planet of Karesh. And others decided to embrace the powers of the void and try to master them, turn them into their favor. These factions saw Outlands as a realm where they could pursue their interests. Merchants hoped to ply their trade and discover new wealth, while the more militant Ethereals, they sought new weapons to fight the war against the Void. Their commercial nature would also have the Ethereals go beyond Outlands, provide services like transmogrification, like void storage, for a price of course, while their militant attention that was drawn on claiming vengeance upon Dimensius and destroying him for good. A quest that took them 1,000 years, maybe more. A quest that some off the deep end and far into darkness, like their Nexus King Xal'atath, former ruler of all of Karesh. He now leads the Ethereum, the ones that once served as the ruling class of Karesh. Their lust for vengeance has taken them down a rather dark path, even going as far as infusing themselves with the void. Seeing this go down, several of their Nexus princes and fellow Ethereals, they abandoned the Ethereum altogether, decided to form their own groups, like the Protectorate and the Consortium. The Consortium is led by Nexus Prince Harbinger, a loosely affiliated cartel of Ethereal smugglers, traders and thieves that have come to Outlands to benefit from its riches. Opening up your reputation tab shows that this was one of the factions that we proved ourselves to during the Burning Crusade, by doing things like taking out the competition, slaying Nexus Prince Jafar, all for those sweet rewards of course. Harbinger is incredibly careful, considering that they deal on all sides, which makes them a whole lot of enemies, and so they only use projections to talk with us and hand out some quests. Quests like retrieve one of the Atamal crystals, which is a powerful magical crystal connected to the Naru and the Draenei, a whole different story. Point being, the Nexus Prince is so surprised by our might and skill in actually able to do such a thing, let alone that we then hand it over to him. Do we even know how much power this crystal contains? It rocks him to his core. He has much to think about, and Ambassador Solanus agrees. Think about turning over the Atamal crystal to Master Kil'thas, for example. But no, says the Ethereal. Instead, it will go to the Naru Adal in Shefrev, which Kil'thas' ambassador does not like. Tries to take her head for it, and at risk of his own life and limb, Harmat steps through the portal and takes care of business in person. The Protectorate, led by Commander Amir, they feel that the Ethereum is as much of a threat to their existence as Dimensius is, and so both will have to be stopped. Something that we get to help them with by clearing out the Ethereum staging ground and slaying their king. Then we set our sights on Dimensius himself, who is currently linked to the Void through a tear in the nether from which he came. This makes him immune to physical harm, but by collecting fragments of Dimensius from the Void creatures that he had sent out to do his dirty work, we can hone in on the conduit that Dimensius is using to keep himself phased out of this plane of existence. Destroy the conduit, and Dimensius is now vulnerable to our might and magic. Avengers assemble, as it is time to follow Captain Saeed into the jaws of hell and confront Dimensius, the all-devouring itself, the being responsible for transforming Karesh and its people. It was slain by us and a group of brave Ethereals. For 1,000 years, all we have known is conflict. We have defended our people from attacks of both Void creature and Ethereal alike. Now, one of our most hated enemies lies dead. Finally, I give you the thanks of 100 million Ethereals, Fleshling. But how can this possibly be? How could we have taken care of a Void Lord, the thing responsible for shooting out the old gods? And there are a couple of answers, a couple of things to consider. First is the time period in which this takes place, the Burning Crusade. Hover over the Void creatures around these and you'll see them categorized as demons. Agent Jasix of the Protectorate is on a mission of finding another Void Lord, in this case Arconus, that we take out as well. Pandemonius is described as a Void Lord that we faced in the Mana Tombs. This infamous Void Lord is also known as the Duke of Chaos, the Eater of Nations and World Slayer. Pandemonius was one of the commanders serving under Dimensius when the ethereal homeworld of Karesh was destroyed. He was later bound by Nexus Prince Shafar and forced to continue sating his unending hunger in service to the Ethereals. Warlocks have been able to upgrade their summoning spell to bring in a Void Lord themselves. The term Void Lord, it can mean multiple things, and yet the Ethereals do celebrate this as a massive victory. Millions of them are cheering on. After 1,000 years of hunting and fighting, it is finally done. So this has to be the real deal, right?
I long for the day our masters can truly pass into this realm. You have only seen fragments, shadows, the faintest of echoes. Ask the Ethereals what one of these manifestations is capable of.
That's Xal'atath whispering to Shadow Priests. What they have seen is only a fragment of the real power. Assuming that the player's character is the same one that helped the Ethereals on Outlands, that means that what they saw was only a small fragment of what Dimensius was able to get through, and the true being, the true Void Lord, is still out there somewhere. Apparently, now being healed over by its harbinger, that same Xal'atath. If we can believe the Locus-Walker, this Ethereal has jumped deep into the paths of the Void, became a master of it, and yet still completely free of its grasp, as far as the Burning Legion knew anyways. They've lost countless lives trying to capture him. A story told by the Dreadlord Lofrexian to Illyria in the audio drama of 1,000 Years of War, which, if you haven't heard it or read it yet, I would highly recommend. Not only because it's just super important for what's to come, it's also fantastically done by Blizzard. So Lofrexian was nearly one of the demons taken out permanently by the Locus-Walker. To his surprise though, the Locus-Walker gave him a death from which he could come back. Sensing that Lofrexian had a unique destiny about him, and the Locus-Walker wanted him reborn, knew that he had a part to play. Following Lofrexian's story, we would see him be converted to the Light and join the Army of the Light. Under the Naru Zera's guidance, he will pick up two of our heroes, Turelion and Illyria Windrunner, to fight with them in their 1,000-year war against the Legion. Turelion would embrace the path of Zera and dive deep into the powers of the Light. which is what has allowed him to survive this long. Considering time that deep in the twisted nether, it does not work the same as it does for us on Azeroth. While for us, they might have been missing for around 25 years, Illyria and Turelion have actually experienced 1,000 years of war in that time. A war which would see the two of them walk different opposite paths. As I said, Turelion is the wielder of the light, and while Illyria tried to follow his path and powers for a bit, she was ultimately drawn to the void. Its whispers called to her, showed her that the light did not know the truth of destiny either. Only through the void would she be capable of doing what had to be done. Do what she valued most, which is secure a future for her loved ones, keep Turelion and keep Azeroth safe. Surrounded by the Legion, it was not the light that offered them salvation, rather it was the void. And so Windrunner decided to follow Lofrexion's tales of the Locus-Walker and try to track down the Ethereal. Eventually, after 500 years or so, she succeeded and would be accepted as his new student. Again, as it was with Lofrexion, the Locus-Walker could sense a touch of destiny upon Illyria Windrunner. But her attachments to Turelion and Azeroth, her holding on to the light that she had known, it keeps her out of balance. Yet at the same time, it also keeps her anchored and allows her to overcome the whispers that might drive others to madness. While it also pushes her further away from her loved ones, as the light and shadow cannot exist together.
Perhaps one day she would fall to madness. Perhaps one day she would betray her allies. She was capable of it. But she would never, not in any possibility, not in any circumstance, harm her son. She would never lift a finger against Azeroth. Even if he killed her for what she had become, she would accept it gladly. The weight of that truth kept her afloat. And she could feel the shadow's confusion. It did not understand the bonds between mortals. It did not understand that there were some things that could not be corrupted.
During her training, she receives visions, follows the voices, and figures out that while she might be ready to plunge into the void completely, it wasn't quite yet her time. At the same time, Turelion is in danger, so she calls her study short and she goes to save her beloved's life, knowing full well that the Naru Zera would not accept her on the path that she was on, that the shadow would never be accepted by the light, and she would be proven right. Only because Turelion and Lofrexion pleaded was Illyria's life spared. She would stay in prison until she was ready to stop this foolishness and embrace the one true path again, embrace the path of the light. That is around the time when we showed up in the Expansion Legion, connecting with the army of the light to take the battle to the Burning Legion and stop Sargeras once and for all. Through our adventures, we eventually need to go and deal with the Naru Lura, who, way back in time, stay behind to give Velen and the Draenei a chance to escape their planets. She's been locked away all this time, and her song has slowly turned from hope, from the light, into darkness and despair. We follow Illyria around as she investigates what's going on, as she figures out that the Viceroy Najar has also set his sights on Lura and is causing all kinds of problems while spreading the void, and we even run into the Locus-Walker again.
What are your people doing here?
I am here to find out. Follow, if you can.
I need to finish what I started, Locus-Walker.
Can you, though? With your attachments?
What are you talking about?
Why, your mate, of course. How does he feel about your choices?
Farewell. Turelion trusts me to make hard decisions, and I him.
I am not talking about trust. How can you expect to embrace the shadow with the light shining so brightly at your side?
Without the light, there is no shadow, teacher.
Prepare yourself, Illyria. Your friend here will hold its attention.
That thing! It's calling to me!
Focus your mind. Remember your training.
Azeroth! Turelion!
The void shows only half-truths. Trust your instincts.
I can't! Oh!
Fight, curse you!
I won't let you. I am not yours to claim.
What luck that we run into each other here. Together, we enter the seat of the Triumvirate, where Lura is held. The Shadow Guard Ethereals and others of their ilk, like Viceroy Nazarigan, they're obsessed with harnessing the power of the Void to serve their own ambitions. Drawn to the seat of the Triumvirate by the immense darkness emanating from deep within, Nazar will stop at nothing to claim it for his own, given the Viceroy's experiments at infusing vessels with the power of the Shadow. The implications of what he might accomplish in Argus are dire indeed. But not to worry, we stopped him and took the dark powers emanating for ourselves, as it would be Illyria claiming Lura's essence.
You survived. Interesting. How do you feel?
The voices are louder now, more insistent, but they do not control me.
You asked me to teach you to use the Void as a weapon. Now that weapon is you.
It seems my training is complete.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. We need to test the limits of this newfound power. Come.
The whole testing of her powers and seeing what she could really do. That would sadly take place off-screen, and the Locus-Walker story would fall a little bit to the background, as our intention, it was drawn to defeating the Burning Legion and stopping Sargeras. Not the last time that we see the Locus-Walker though, as Illyria is not the only one interested in the Void. We would see Magister Umbric and his followers that followed their own research, despite it meaning exile from Silvermoon, all the way into a trap set out by Nether Prince Derzan. They would have been lost, was it not for Illyria's aid. And while their paths were a little bit different, the Rendori, or the Void Elves, they also show great promise, wielding the darkness and maintaining control over the Whispers. The Locus-Walker guides them through it as well, as he has done with Illyria. And yet the matter of loyalty, that's a hard one to answer. Is the Locus-Walker truly a master of the Void? Or are they using their senses of destiny to play pieces on the board which they could use? Is he on our side? Is he on the Void side? Is he on Xal'atath's side? Is he actually Khadgar in disguise? It's all very much speculation and things to be revealed.
Yes, I do have a real name. It's none of your business. Were I to speak it aloud, 1,000 void portals would rip open and some very unpleasant entities would come looking to collect on old debts. But by all means, if you want to see reality itself torn asunder, keep asking about my name.
One last group of Ethereals to talk about. One that's been operating from the shadows in the back. One that you may have forgotten about, because I know I sure did. The Void Ethereal Shadreen and those that follow her lead. She shows up in the Void Elf intro cutscene, and then occasionally pops up at Logra's Rifts, honoring her title of the Watcher and watching us. Not just at the Rift either, they've shown up at the Trial of Style to get information, and they were part of the Brawlers Guild infiltration murder mystery, where she had Zan Zalish take the place of Bismo. Pay special attention to the heroes, the champions, the movers of fate. Watch from afar, watch when up close. Interfere if you deem it necessary. This gave him a chance to see how we fight, which was quite informative. But watching us solve this mystery has been even more illuminating. The blade of the Watcher tries to take us out, but Shadreen herself doesn't seem overly hostile, even kind enough to slip a mysterious coin into our journal. Thank you for the opportunity to observe you. The information I've gathered has been illuminating, to say the least. This will be my final gifts, for now. That's been going on in the background for a bit. For who or what purpose has she been gathering this information? Has she been the eyes and ears of Xal'atath for all this time? Is she serving a Nexus prince or princess? Has she been working on her own plans? And what about all these transactions they've been doing with the Ethereals? Plenty of resources and tokens of power. They've exchanged hands in pursuit of gear and rewards. Where did all of that go? All that and so much more to be revealed. But in the case of the Ethereals and Karesh, I hope you got a better understanding as to where they came from and what they've been up to. beings that were manipulated or simply pushed their research of knowledge and power into bringing in something like Dimensius the All-Devouring. We've seen a lot of them rise up against the darkness, and yet plenty that have chosen to embrace it instead. Only recently did we see the Harbinger call out for Illyria to come out and play, and we saw plenty of Shadowguard Ethereals fight at their side. We've seen the Ethereals suck up the void and increase their powers as far back as the Burning Crusade, but even going further during Legion, where we saw Nexus Prince Bilal going so far that they became a Void Revenant. Safe to say that we'll see Ethereals on both sides of the playing field. Fingers crossed that maybe one day we ourselves will be able to play as them. But then, that of course does leave us with the most important question of all. When talking about the Ethereals, when are they going to add Rafam and the League of Evil to World of Warcraft?
We'll take Gul'dan for all that it's got! As we form an evil league.
It is time, Blizzard. We got Reno and crew. Why not Rafam? Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, there are characters that are so far exclusive to Hearthstone, with more of a focus on the Ethereals. It's definitely the right time to bring them in. Time is going to tell, I suppose. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Say this one more details on all the things that we talked about today, or you just want to read up on it in your own time, check out the related WoWhead article in the description down below. As for me, subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time, see ya!